Welcome back to our third module for the Indicator Reporting tool. This module is about the second key function of the tool to manage reporting obligations and indicator definitions. Reporting obligations and indicator definitions was previously covered or defined in the opening module of this course, and we will explore it in depth in this unit. In the previous module, you learned about indicator definitions and that an indicator refers to a specific description of how it is defined, the methodology used to measure it, and the unit of measurement, among other things. You also learned what steps are needed to define an indicator with the online tool. In this module, you will learn what is a reporting obligation and how to manage a reporting obligation and indicator definition on the Indicator Reporting tool. As previously defined, reporting obligations or reporting frameworks simply refers to national, regional, and international agreements and conventions in which a country is a party of and is required to report to. For example, Samoa, Cook Islands, and Marshall Islands, alongside other Pacific Island countries, are required to report the status of their performance in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. At the national level, government ministries such as Departments of Environment are also required to report to or provide cabinet submissions and ministerial reports on a quarterly basis. These are all reporting obligations, and the tool can assist you in managing these reporting requirements. To manage reporting obligations, go to the homepage screen, click on the Manage Reporting Obligations and Indicator Definitions button. Then, confirm the selection. The pop-up Help text reminds you the purpose of this function. The landing page for the Manage Reporting Obligation key you've just clicked at the home screen is similar to the image in this slide. On the left side, labeled A is the help text on each of the functions available on the page. It gives the definition of a reporting obligation and targets. Labeled B is the button that allows you to create a new obligation. This button is used when you are intending to add a new reporting obligation in the tool. Labeled C, Operations to manage the obligation. There are three functions that can be done under Operations. 1. Produce a report. This is the shortcut to the last function of the tool. You can use this when you want to download the information available on the tool regarding a single reporting obligation in Word. 2. Edit Summary allows you to edit the summary of an existing reporting obligation. 3. Manage Frameworks. This button allows you to add targets to a reporting obligation. For example, to add SDG Target 2.1 under the Sustainable Development Goals obligation. Now, let's start with Create a New Obligation. Creating a new obligation in the tool is a two-step process. 1. Title. Add the name of the reporting obligation. For example, State of the Environment, National Biodiversity Strategic Plan, etc. This field is mandatory. 2. Description. This field is not mandatory, but it is highly recommended to supply this information to describe what the reporting obligation is about. You can also add images as required. Note that the more information you add in this process, the more detailed of the content you are able to download as a report from the tool. Click on the Save button once done. You will then see your newly created reporting obligation listed in the table. Other three operations that can be done under this key function of the tool as earlier mentioned are 1. Produce reports. 2. Edit Summary is to edit an existing obligation by clicking on the Edit Summary button next to the obligation that we want to edit. Make the proposed edits and click on the Save button. And 3. Manage Framework. Manage Framework or obligation. You click on the Manage Framework button next to the obligation that you want to manage. A newly created obligation will have listed targets. In details for the Manage Framework key function, this is where you can add targets to an existing obligation. For instance, add SDG 6.6 as a target under the Sustainable Development Goals reporting obligation. Under SDG 6.6 target are relatable environmental indicators such as wetlands. Another example would be manage the State of Environment's report obligation, add healthy marine environments as a target. Under healthy marine environment target, add live coral cover as an environmental indicator. Now, once you click Manage Framework button, the above landing page appears for you to add targets. You can add targets to an obligation by clicking on the Create New Target button. You can also edit existing targets by clicking on the Edit Target button next to the target that you want to edit. Click Create New Target. The Create New Target landing page is shown above. Adding details of a target is a three-step process. 1. Title. Add a title of the target, for example, Healthy Biodiversity. 2. Summary. A short description about the target. And 3. Indicator definition. As mentioned above, indicators are grouped by target. The tool already generates a list of defined indicators. You can either add an existing indicator or create a new indicator in line with the target. Click Save. And now we are going to have a live demo of this key function.
Hi there. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the IRT function of managing reporting obligations and indicator definitions. Similar to the indicator definition function that we had a look at earlier, we can simply click on the Manage Reporting Obligations button and again to confirm our selection. This will bring us here to this page where we can manage the reporting obligations, indicator definitions, and subsequent mappings. So first we'll take a look on the left-hand side here. We have a pane that showcases a couple different information on the reporting obligations, targets, definitions, and finally indicator definitions mapping. In the table, we have all of the existing reporting obligations that are in the system and a couple operations that we can take on each one. We'll go ahead and click on the Create New Reporting Obligation button to get started, to add a new reporting obligation. There are only two fields required for this, so the first one, we'll just give our reporting obligation a title, call that NUMEA Convention, and for the time being, we'll leave the summary empty. We can always come back to it. Then we can click on the Save, and the system will say that our reporting obligation has been created. We'll also see it listed here under the table. Next, we'll go ahead and click on the Manage Framework button next to our newly created obligation. As we can see here, our framework has no targets. It's currently empty. It also doesn't have any mappings under the indicator states. So to get started, we'll go ahead and click on the Create New Target button. So our reporting obligation can have a target called pollution from seabed activities. As such, we'll give it a descriptive summary. And this brings us to the part of the target creation where we can map our new obligation target to an existing indicator definition. To do this, we can click on Add Existing Indicator Definition. We can then click on this drop-down, and it will give us a list of all the existing indicators in the system. We can also go ahead and just search for it if we know what to look for. So I'm going to look for coral, and once I found it, I'm going to click on it, Coral Reef Health. Finally, I'm going to click on the Add Indicator Definition. We have now successfully made a mapping between this existing indicator definition, Coral Reef Health, and our new target, pollution from seabed activities. From here, we can either remove this definition if we so choose, or add more if we want to. For the time being, we'll just leave the one mapping, and we'll click on the Save button. So in summary, we've created a new reporting obligation called NOMER Convention, and under the NOMER Convention, we've created a new target, pollution from seabed activities. Under this target, we've made a mapping to coral reef health. We can go ahead and add any number of targets and have any number of mappings under them. So this is a brief overview of reporting obligations and indicator definitions. Thank you.
You have reached the end of this module. In summary, reporting obligation or reporting framework simply refers to national, regional, and international agreements and conventions in which a country is a party of and is required to report to. Adding a reporting obligation to the tool is a two-step process: title and description. Managing reporting obligations on the tool simply refers to an operation where a new obligation is added to the tool or an existing obligation is further edited or mapped to add relevant targets and indicators. Each reporting obligation has targets. Indicators are then grouped under those targets. For example, State of Environment Report is a reporting obligation. Healthy marine environment is a target, and live coral cover is an indicator. Thank you so much for your attention, and see you on the next module.